A woman with long blonde hair straddles him on the bed. She looks down at him with an intense, wanting expression. Yamase turns his head away, telling her they can't do this. They're co-workers. This is wrong. She leans in closer, her face flushed with sweat. She whispers that she can't hold it anymore. Yamase stares back, his own face a mask of shock. 3 years. It had been 3 years since he'd become a manga editor. And he had absolutely nothing to show for it. The series he managed were canceled almost immediately. Meanwhile, his colleague Kawasaki was a rising star. His first series was already getting an anime adaptation. Compared to him, Yamase felt like a complete failure. But he tells himself to pull it together. He still had an ace up his sleeve. A new author he'd met by chance, Kojika Megumi. She was a total unknown, no social media, no prior work. But her manga was incredible. He thinks to himself that this girl is a gifted talent. She could actually create a hit series. There was just one small problem. Kojika Megumi got way too close. He can't help but notice the sweet smell of her shampoo. She suddenly grabs his hand, studying it intently. She just wanted to know what a man's hand felt like. He feels his face flush, trying to regain his composure. She even orders him another drink, just so they can be together longer. He realizes she isn't just bold. She's cunning. He runs through a mental checklist, trying to stay professional. Workplace affairs only ever end in disaster. He swears to himself he will not have impure thoughts about his writer. Together, they are going to create a hit series, nothing more. He's standing in the rain, fuming about the weather forecast. And then, he spots a familiar figure. It's Kojika. She says she revised the storyboard and had to show him. She takes a step forward and trips on absolutely nothing. She's completely drenched, and so is the precious storyboard. He couldn't just leave her like this. He ends up escorting her home. This is bad, he thinks. This is definitely bad. She invites him inside for tea. He frantically refuses. He insists he was just about to leave anyway. Just as he turns to go, a hand grabs his arm. He lets out a yelp as he's pulled inside her apartment. The door clicks shut behind him. She reappears moments later in a scandalous outfit, her makeup redone. She leans in and gives him a soft kiss. It's her thanks, she says, for walking her home. She makes a promise, her voice a low whisper. If he makes her a best-selling author, she'll allow herself to give him even more thanks. Yamase is completely bewildered. He asks her why him. He's not handsome. He has no achievements. He's just a dull man. She smiles, a knowing, cryptic smirk. She tells him she's been thinking about him since that day. He's confused. They only met a month ago. Suddenly, a flash of memory hits him like a physical blow. An old newspaper article about a ghastly crime. A reclusive young woman who stabbed her parents with a knife. Her name was Shiga Shizuka. Yamase's face drains of all color. Before manga, he was an editor for a sleazy tabloid. He remembers the story. He remembers writing it. An article filled with contempt, painting the girl as a monster. He remembers her screaming at him from behind glass. Yamase Hananosuke, I'll be watching you, always. He scrambles backwards, his breath catching in his throat. Kojika Megumi is Shiga Shizuka. He's trapped. He's in the home of the woman whose life he ruined. He collapses to the floor, his mind screaming, "She's gonna kill me. She's going to kill me." He slams his forehead against the ground, begging. He's so sorry. He never wanted to publish that article. It was an order from the top. He pleads for forgiveness. And then he hears a sound. She's laughing. A wild, hysterical, uncontrollable laugh. Yamase looks up, completely lost. She covers her blushing face, looking embarrassed. Then she holds out the storyboard. Her eyes are sharp, her voice firm. She tells him to read it. Her name is Kojika Megumi. She is a newbie mangaka who has yet to debut. She leans over him, cupping his face in her hands. "Make me famous with those hands," she demands. She wants to draw more manga. A wicked smile plays on her lips. "After all," she declares, "I want to dominate every single part of you." Yamase can only stare, frozen in sheer terror. She leans in close, her expression sweet and terrifying, and asks, "Okay?" A manga editor named Yamase looks utterly exhausted. His boss muses about an interview with a murderer. He smirks, clarifying it was only an asterisk attempted murder. The new assignment, he says, is a cinch for Yamase. Yamase flashes back to his last gig, undercover in a freaky cult. His eyes fall on a newspaper article. A young woman who stabbed her parents, Shiga Shizuka. Now he stands before that very same woman. She introduces herself as a new mangaka, Kojika Megumi. She places a delicate hand on his back. She tells him to make her famous with those hands. She grabs his face, eyes burning with a strange intensity. She wants to dominate every single part of him. He's left completely stunned as she walks away. She gives a playful wink and tells him she'll be waiting. Yamase stumbles home through the rain, his mind reeling. He collapses inside his apartment, completely drained. He can't figure out what she's thinking at all. Then a sudden, chilling thought strikes him. How did she even know where to find him? He tears through his bag, his heart pounding in his chest. He finds a small, strange device tucked inside a pocket. A quick search reveals the horrifying truth. It's a GPS tracker for pets. His blood runs cold. He thinks, has she been watching me this whole time? He looks around his apartment, terrified she's been here too. An image flashes in his mind of her crouching in his closet. He sees her going through his drawers, invading his private space. He runs outside and stomps on the tracker, crushing it under his heel. He screams curses into the empty night air. Meanwhile, Kojika sees the tracker signal has been cut. She just shrugs, a casual, "Oh well." Yamase sits alone in his room, paralyzed with fear. He imagines her finding out, coming for him with a knife. In his despair, he does the only thing he knows how. He picks up a manga. He remembers why he became an editor, to create a story that moves people. Then he looks at the storyboard she threw at him. He opens it. His eyes go wide. The work is breathtaking. He realizes it would be a huge loss to let this talent disappear. The next day, he meets her at a cafe, his resolve hardened. He declares he will not step down as her editor. A sweet smile spreads across her face as she offers him a bite of dessert. He takes a deep breath, deciding to cross this dangerous bridge. A reporter named Yamase sits in a sterile visiting room. He's here for an interview with the infamous Shiga Shizuka, a girl arrested for stabbing both of her parents. Her long, dark hair completely hides her face from view. He tries to start a light conversation, to get her to open up. Suddenly, the room distorts around him. Glowing, ghostly hands begin pressing through the walls. He hears her voice, a chilling promise echoing in his head. "I will definitely come find you." Yamase jolts awake in his bed, drenched in sweat. He shakes his head, trying to forget the shitty dream. Just then, his doorbell chimes. He drags himself to the door and peeks through the peephole. His blood runs cold. It's her. He tears the door open, ready to yell at her. He finds her crouched down, a screwdriver in hand, ready to pick his lock. She just gives him a sweet smile and forces her way inside. He's moving out because of her, and she acts like it's a social call. While arguing, he gets a small paper cut on his finger. Shizuka spots the single drop of blood. Before he can even protest, she grabs his hand. She brings his bleeding finger to her lips. He stares, completely frozen in shock. She pulls back, placing a cute character band-aid on the tiny wound. He thinks he can finally breathe, but then she grins. She holds up her hand, showing off a brand new ring. It's an exact match to the one on his own finger. She chirps happily that now they match. His smile is a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. Desperate, he asks for the manuscript she was supposed to deliver. He just wants her to leave. He opens the pages. A horrible realization begins to dawn on him. The happy, perfect family in her story. It's his family. She's captured every detail, every private memory. She asks if his mom still calls him by his embarrassing childhood nickname. He snaps. His mind flashes to news reports of her crime. The bloody dress, the dripping knife. He finally loses all control and screams at her. He tells her to get out of his house. Now. She silently turns and walks out the door. A moment later, his phone rings. The caller ID says, "Mom." He answers in a panic, only to hear her cheerful, oblivious voice. She's safe. Outside, Shizuka leans against his door, tears streaming down her face. She whispers apologies to the closed door, over and over again. A young woman named Mizuo Ru stands in the city. She's a newbie writer, and today's a huge day. She's about to show her draft to her editor. Inside a cafe, she bows, her heart pounding. Across from her sits her editor, Yamase-san. He has a cool smile and kind, tired eyes. As he begins to read, he sips his black coffee. Mizuo thinks he looks so mature and capable. She glances down at her own sweet cafe au lait. One day she hopes to be that confident. She studies the faint dark circles under his eyes. Being an editor seems like incredibly tough work. She tries to mimic his serious, focused expression. But then, her own expression freezes. She stares past him, her eyes wide with shock. Yamase asks what's wrong, turning to follow her gaze. A moment later, a woman enters the cafe. She has long, blonde hair and a radiant smile. Yamase stammers, trying to make an introduction, but she introduces herself confidently, Kojika Megumi. Mizuo is completely starstruck by her beauty. Yamase explains Kojika is a writer who just debuted. He mentions her one-shot, 1,000 Needles Down Your Throat. Mizuo's eyes light up with recognition. She exclaims that she's read it and loved it. This is her first time meeting a real pro writer. She eagerly asks if a full series is in the works. At her question, a shadow of pain crosses Yamase's face. Kojika ignores him, turning her dazzling smile to Mizuo. She asks if she can see Mizuo's draft. Mizuo, flattered, admits she doesn't have any writer friends. Kojika sweetly says of course she can read it. Then she immediately turns back to Yamase. She wraps her arms around him, pressing her cheek to his arm. She insists they should read the draft together. Her manicured hand grips his arm tightly. Yamase looks panicked, trying to pry her off. He tells her to hold on, that he'll read it later. Kojika pouts, complaining that it's more efficient this way. She keeps trying to flip the pages of Mizuo's work. Mizuo finally shouts at her to stop. She tells Kojika she's bothering everyone. Kojika glances back, a calm, knowing smile on her face. She points out that Mizuo's shouting is the real problem. The air grows thick with tension. After a tense moment, things seem to calm down. The cafe owner clears his throat and the meeting resumes. Yamase finally focuses on Mizuo's manuscript. He starts his critique, and it is brutal. He picks apart the character count, the narrative angle. He's lecturing her on the very basics of writing. Mizuo bites her hand, trying not to cry. It feels like every bit of her confidence is shattering. She promises herself she will work harder, but then Yamase's expression softens into a smile. He tells her that he can feel the characters, emotions. He says her keen observations are spot on. More than anything, he praises the expression she draws. He calls them fascinating and full of life. Mizuo's teary face breaks into a radiant smile. He suggests they study movies and manga to improve her structure. Mizuo clasps her hands, agreeing with pure joy. Her sudden enthusiasm makes Yamase blush. As they talk, Mizuo starts to notice something strange. Kojika hasn't been listening to a word. Her gaze has been fixed on Yamase the entire time. A cold feeling creeps over Mizuo. She confronts Kojika, asking why she's being so clingy. She points out how much she's bothering Yamase-san. Kojika just smiles that same enigmatic smile. She says their meeting must be fate, that she and Mizuo are destined to be great rivals. Then, she makes a shocking proposal. A competition, right here and now. She challenges Yamase to judge both their drafts. He will decide which one is more interesting. Mizuo is too stunned to speak. Yamase shouts at Kojika, asking what she's saying. But Kojika isn't finished. With a sweet expression, she names the stakes. The loser must change editors. The loser must give up Yamase-san. The room goes silent. Mizuo realizes what's happening. This isn't about rivalry. It's a power play. Kojika just wants Yamase all to herself. An image flashes in her mind. Kojika is a giant, smiling demon with towering wings. And Mizuo is a tiny knight in armor. She raises her sword and shield, ready for battle. This woman is her enemy. Mizuo's expression hardens into pure determination. She clenches her fists at her side. She looks Kojika dead in the eye and accepts the bet. Kojika smiles, as if she's already won. She whispers that she will never give Yamase-san to her. Both women immediately descend upon their poor editor. They pull him in two directions, demanding advice. Yamase's face is a mask of pure, overwhelmed panic. Just then, a large figure looms over their table. The cafe owner smiles politely and informs them they are banned. In the quiet car ride home, Mizuho burns with embarrassment. She thinks about how Kojika acted, so possessive and cruel. She suspects Kojika has some kind of hold over Yamase, that she's taking advantage of his kindness. The thought makes her blood boil. It's unforgivable. Back in her apartment, she gets ready to work. She thinks of Yamase's one piece of praise, her gift for drawing fascinating expressions. That will be her weapon. She will win this fight.